enjoy this episode of The Fresh Table. I wanted to let you know that The Fresh Table is actually part of a 501c3 ministry called Faithful Workouts. And Faithful Workouts not only produces this show, it also produces an exercise show called Faithful Workouts. And in order for these shows to remain on the air, we truly rely on donations from viewers like you. We love that we can help people to get physically strong with our exercise and our cooking shows, but really the heart of all that we do is to share the love and truth of Jesus with people. So I hope that you'll support us by making a donation. I'm Michelle, and this is my soon-to-be son-in-law, Avery, and we both love to cook, but we know there's a lot of people out there who are uncomfortable in the kitchen. They're confused about how to cook healthy food. They think they don't have enough time to cook, so they don't sit down to the table and share a meal with family and friends. And they end up picking up unhealthy food on the run.
Well, we are here to change all of that. We're going to show you how to cook quick, healthy, everyday food so that you can be confident in the kitchen and have more memories around the table with the people that you love. You've got this, so let's get started.
Hey there guys, here we are. It's Avery and Michelle with The Fresh Table, and we are so excited to be here with you today because you know what? We care about your health. We really do, right? This guy right here, he is all about good health, but that wasn't always the case. Tell them how much you've lost over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's been like 40 pounds. And a part of it is because of what we're going to talk about today, which is superfoods. So with superfoods, I remember looking at a list and it was like
the superfood was supersize.
Exactly, yeah. It was like 10 superfoods you could have. And I was like, don't eat that one, don't eat that one, don't eat that one. It was like salmon was the only thing that I would ever eat. And I was like, well, I guess I eat kale and I eat avocados now and all those things just because I knew that I just had to do it. And so I knew how to cook, and so I was able to make them taste good, which is what we're going to do today.
Yeah. So when you're eating, guys, of course we want to make it fun. We want to make it an experience. Avery and I are both really big about the table. In fact, one thing that's been on my heart a ton lately is discipleship. My husband and I took some time off and went away for a while and really spent a lot of time in God's Word and the Bible and praying. And there's a verse in Matthew, and it says, Jesus is saying, all authority has been given to me. And he's telling us to go and make disciples, baptizing them, teaching them to obey all that I command. And he says, but don't worry, I'm with you. I'll be with you always. And so that verse of go and make disciples, I started really kind of just meditating, I guess, on it and realized that it's something I'm super passionate about. So part of the reason we do this show here is to help you feel comfortable and confident in the kitchen so that you can sit down, right, at the table with others. And I'm telling you, a person who does that beautifully, who sits with people and hears their story is this guy right here. Tell them a little bit about how you use your table as a way of ministering and helping and just hearing people's stories.
Yeah, I think one part of it is that our home, my wife Dinnick and I make just such an effort, and sometimes it becomes like an effort. And of course, when you have people over, sometimes there's going to be added stress because you've got to accommodate some of those needs. But we love having people over, and hospitality being a little bit of an art form, and that it's like this lost thing that you really take someone in, allow them to relax, cook them great food, give them a nice warm bed to sleep in and all that. And so we have lots of friends. We have lots of sometimes strangers come in and they just kind of hang out with us for a little while, and that's amazing. But there's also something about going out and sharing tables with others, maybe not necessarily in your home. And that's a big point that I think gets lost nowadays. One of my favorite quotes is from a guy named Shane Claiborne. And he says that a lot of the problems that he saw in the world were not that a lot of us didn't care about poor folks or poor people or those who live in poverty, but that we didn't know them. We didn't know their name. And so a great way to learn something about the people that are in your city, in your town, is bring them food, share a table with them, share a meal with someone who you might not normally go out to eat with or have over. I think that's one of the most powerful tools that we have is to be able to say, hey, what's your name? What do you like? Just get to know people, and to share a meal is just the perfect kind of caveat to that. So
it's a great way to just kind of get a conversation going. The Bible says in Romans 12, it says, invite people into your home for dinner, and if necessary, ask them to spend the night. invite them. It's a command in there to say, invite them into your home, have dinner. And if they need a place to stay, tell someone to double up in a bed in your home and give them that bed. All right, so how do we go from superfoods to talking about discipleship? People say to me, how do you bring in Jesus into your cooking show? I'm like, I can bring Jesus into learning how to swim, tying a shoe. You tell me, right? But we are going to dig in here now, guys, because Avery's going to kick us off with this amazing recipe using so many different great superfoods.
Yeah, and just because people are coming over doesn't mean you have to sacrifice the health of it or just open a can or something. So we're going to make some really amazing food. So let's get started. So we're going to make salmon with a spicy pear chutney. So I've got to get a pan nice and hot. So with fish like this, we've got salmon with the skin on. Always be careful, make sure you're not touching the raw meat and then handling other items, especially like ready to eat food. That's really dangerous. So Miss Michelle is going to dice up some of these pears. You can make them really thick, you can make them really small. Right now we're going to do 2 pears, and that will give us enough for 2 pieces of salmon essentially, so it's a meal for 2, and you can also save some of those. So we've got a little trash bowl we can do with those just to make life easier. You don't have to run back and forth to the trash can 15 times. That'll make life easier for you. So the pan needs to be nice and hot, and when I put the fish in, I'm going to lay it away from me. That's really important because it's not going to splash the oil all over me, and then I'm going to be able to tell essentially when to flip the salmon because you'll be able to see like it's cooked about halfway up, and that's when I'll flip it. The skin on the bottom should get nice and crispy, and then it should peel right off on the end if you don't like the taste or the texture of that. So let's put just a little splash, about a tablespoon of olive oil into our pan for the fish. And then into our pan in the back for the chutney, I'm going to add just about 1/4 to 1/3 a cup. This is 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar. That's going to be our base that allows the rest of it to boil down. So you can do it in like more of a stock pot right now. I've just got a little saute pan. It's totally fine. And in there, I have about 2 tablespoons, a touch less right here because I don't want it too spicy, of fresh ginger. And then I've got a little maple syrup. This is amazing. This is 2 tablespoons of that. Just adds a touch of sweetness, helps it kind of like caramelize. You could do honey as well.
No, you can't.
You can't? Why not?
Because I don't like honey. Isn't that funny? I mean, it's not like really even a health thing. It's just a taste thing. I just don't like it. So that's why so often you'll see here I'll use things like coconut sugar and I use maple syrup. I'm not crazy on any of them, but I really don't like. Sorry.
Not even the smell of it.
And not the smell, not the texture. I mean, I really don't like it.
So if you'll notice when I'm putting the salmon, I'm laying it away from me. It's going to kind of splatter and get loud because the pan should be really hot.
Dump that in.
Yeah,
I'll cut up another one.
So great. So you can take the skin off of these, just normal peel, just like an apple, or you can leave it on. There's still a bunch of nutrients in there. And since it's going to cook down, you won't get a lot of that kind of like mealy kind of taste that you get with like the peel of an apple or with a pear. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of mixing it up. We're doing one with the peel on and one with the peel off. And I love chutneys. I mean, if you've looked at some of our other shows, remember we did that mango chutney? We were in Ecuador.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
If you guys could only see, sometimes like when the camera stops rolling and we're like, okay, see you next time at the fresh table, we attack the food. And I remember that mango chutney one, you and I were almost like going to battle over it because
it was really amazing.
It had some kick to it and all that. So I'm probably going too slow here, so I'm going to let you finish.
No, you're great. So we also added the jalapeno in there. Again, that's totally optional. A lot of times with the dishes that we make, we kind of give you like a baseline or somewhere to start. We usually don't add a ton of other ingredients because we want to leave that up to you. That's not because we don't cook with a lot of herbs or other things like that. It's just because I want you to know the base level of this recipe, and then you can kind of customize it. Some of you have got herb gardens in your front yard. Some of them you have easy access at a local farmer's market to other ingredients. Again, the first time you make something, I really encourage you to make it true to form, make it like the recipe or the chef tells you to make it. And then after that, use it as like a guideline and then customize it how you like it. I like things just a touch spicier, maybe a touch sweeter, just personal preference. And so I'll make it like that the next time, but now I know what it tastes like. So yeah.
And tell us some other ways that you could, what else would this pear chutney taste good on other than salmon?
You got salmon, you got a lot of proteins. I mean, you could do like a pork loin. You could do
Pork would be
chicken.
great, yeah.
You could even like make it really thick and use it almost like a relish, like on a bratwurst or like a hot dog kind of thing.
It would taste good on a sandwich, wouldn't it? If you said like
Yeah.
you kind of boiled it down more and made it real thick, that would be great on like
Yeah.
a nice sandwich. And also, salmon, you probably have all heard it's good for you. Let's go ahead and eat some salmon, right? And here's a couple things. My thought is, if possible, eat wild caught salmon. I know there's some things out there that are like, no, it's okay if it's farm raised. All the research that I've done keeps pointing me back to doing the wild caught when it comes to fish. In addition, salmon has something called omega-6s. Omega-3s. And omega-3s are really good for you because a couple different reasons, but one, they're an anti-inflammatory. And research now shows that most of our health issues really come from an inflammatory response in our body. So we get this inflammation that causes all sorts of issues going on in our body. So a lot of the foods that we're using, the health benefit of it is that they're anti-inflammatory. So a natural anti-inflammatory can help with anything from digestive issues to achy joints. The interesting thing is both my husband and my sister ate some sugar, and they've really not been eating much of it. So they ate some sugar, and they both had called me to tell me that their joints were hurting. Like my husband's knees were hurting. So you have to be like, what you're eating, guys, isn't, hear me, it's not just about what tastes good, okay? It's also about what's good for your body. How can we get the most nutrients in? And that's part of what's basing a superfood. How many nutrients are you getting into your body through that food, okay? So salmon, great, all these chutneys, the ginger is good for your digestive system. But right here, I have something called broccoli rabe. I just learned today that I was saying it wrong because I was calling it, he told me, I was calling it wrong. I was calling it rabe, broccoli rabe. And
I guess it depends on where you're from. Maybe they pronounce it.
But I would think a Southern would say it rabe. I don't know. Anyway, this is broccoli rabe. Here, can you see how it has a little bit right there, excuse my fingers, of what looks like broccoli? Because otherwise you think, is that really broccoli? But see, it also has the power greens and the leaves and everything. So all I did was I got the broccoli rabe and I rinsed it off and cut off just the very, very tips of it. Then I had a big pot of boiling water, and I took it and I just submerged it in the boiling water for, I bet it was in there only maybe 2 minutes, not long, just enough to get that stem to wilt a little bit, okay? So now, if you're having people over, you want to do this part, you can prep it in advance by doing this. And then to make it extra special good, I have here 4 small cloves of garlic. For me, I would put in like 50 cloves because I love garlic. Garlic is also another one of those kind of superfoods. You can mince it if you want through a garlic press, or you can just do a nice little one with your knife. Okay, so we're just cutting it up into little pieces, and then we're going to toss it into a pan with some olive oil. Once it softens, this garlic softens, I toss in the broccoli rabe, the olive oil, and that crushed red pepper, okay? So
I got the pan on for you.
All right, so let's put that olive oil in first, and then we're gonna load it with some garlic. If you don't like garlic, don't come knocking at my door. I've always got it going.
And if you want like a splash guard, I use those a lot of times for when you're cooking like bacon or fish or things like, especially with like meats in a pan, they're gonna splatter a lot. That's all right, it'll wipe up pretty easily. With our salmon, we've got about 2 minutes on each side on about a medium-high heat. Again, you want that nice crispy skin on the bottom. If it doesn't have a skin on it, it will tell you when it is ready to be flipped. Salmon doesn't stick a lot, but if you use things like cod or flounder, catfish, things like that, even some pieces of chicken, it has to release. So when a cold item hits a hot surface, it's going to just naturally stick. And then when it's ready and kind of forms those crusts, it will naturally. So if you see somebody scraping up something off a grill or something like that, back off just a second, give it another moment, and it will release itself when it's ready to go. So we've had it about 2 minutes on each side. Again, when you're first starting to cook, I would really recommend that you use a thermometer just to make sure that your cooking makes the right temperature, because you can get in a little bit of a trouble kind of situation there. So, yeah.
And if you're cooking this at home, what we would suggest is to cook this chutney first, because it's going to take a lot longer than the salmon. So we would want this chutney, because really the longer that you cook that chutney, the more flavors come in. If you want your chutney to be a little bit more liquidy or thinner, put a lid on it while you're cooking it. If you want it more like a thick, almost like you were saying, like you could use it as a relish or something, then keep the lid off, but watch it because you don't want it to burn on the bottom. If you run out of liquid, you can always add a little bit more water into that chutney or just cook it slow with a lid on it is another way. Okay, so I've got my garlic going and I've got my broccoli rabe here and not rabe, oh my goodness. And then we just have a tiny bit, it's about a half teaspoon of crushed red pepper. You wanna go ahead and
Again, totally up to you.
yeah,
Dump
put
this
that
in?
Yeah, let's dump it in. And just then we're gonna toss that around in the oil. I'm telling you that the reason also, that's more than 2 servings right there of broccoli rabe. But if you do this, guys, make a lot of it. I just cooked up the whole bunch, the whole batch. It was a big thing. And then tomorrow for breakfast, I dice it up and I stir it in with some of my eggs and make a nice scramble with that in there. So we want to we'll get that garlic kind of nice and soft, almost a little bit like a brownish color. And it gives it so much flavor. We'll add a little bit of salt and pepper. Avery, if you don't mind doing a little salt and pepper on there too.
You got it.
Would be great.
Ooh.
Oh, look at that piece of salmon. That is
Turn the
beautiful.
burner off.
Okay.
A little salt and pepper.
And maybe, yeah, and then we can turn that up a little higher, baby.
Great.
All right, so we're really showing you how to make an entire meal using lots of superfoods. We have that salmon with that pear ginger chutney. We've got the broccoli rabe over there. And then I'm now gonna go on and show you how to make just a beautiful salad to go along with it. What we have here is kale. You guys have all, I'm sure, heard kale's good for me, I should eat my kale, all of that. And so here is what kale looks like. Now, if you've ever heard someone say the rib of kale, do you see this little hard thing? That is what the rib is. And there's really 2 different ways you can take it off. You can take it off by just kind of bending those leaves away from the stem, okay, like this. And then I come and I push that rib out, and I just do a little bit of a cut right like that. Okay, and it's not that you can't eat this rib, but it is a little bit more bitter and a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
So, see, now I've got that left behind. Oh, but wait, look what, Avery just had to one-up me when I said to was showing Eileen how to cut it off.
I got my gadgets.
And he has a gadget. Now, here, you show him how this thing
There we
works,
go.
because
So
this is so
for
cool.
this is for parsley, fine herbs, things like that. But you can also just kind of run it through. Whoop. And it'll kind of boom.
Same thing.
And then exactly, it all kind of comes off. It's even got a little knife attached to it. I can just kind of chop it up. And then I've got these beautiful pieces of kale. It's even got a little kind of fine section for the herbs if you want to use that. Some of these kitchen gadgets are awesome. You'll see them at stores all the time. And some of them are just kind of I'm not entirely sure why they made that. And some of them are really actually pretty useful like this. I use this a lot for thyme and rosemary, other things you can stick through there. So, and does the job, gets the rib out.
Yeah. In my house, I would try to get my kids to help me sometimes in the kitchen. And the biggest thing people would run from was when I'd say, hey, can you take the cilantro leaves off? So you have to go with your hand and kind of pick these leaves off of the cilantro, and it takes forever. And so that gadget would have been awesome.
I know, it makes it fun.
Yeah, so I'm just going to cut up this one last piece. The rest of it's already cut up, so we have 3 cups of fresh kale here. And there's a lot of different varietals when it comes to kale. Really, it's just whatever you like best, okay, when it comes to it. So I'm cutting it up, and with this salad, ideally you make it, you put the dressing on, and then you let it sit for a while because it really softens and absorbs into the kale. But let me just go ahead and keep showing you here. So another superfood. So kale is high in vitamin K. It's an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. I mean, I say if there's one thing that's always in my fridge, it's power greens of some sort. Spinach, kale, broccoli rabe, all of that, because every day you should be eating those power greens. They really are singly, I think, if I would pick, the best thing to eat. Okay?
And there's another way you can crisp them up. You can do about 1,500 other things. It's easy to find recipes through us at thefreshtable.org. There's really hardly any excuse anymore when it comes to cooking because there are so many cooking videos just like this of people kind of breaking it down and explaining to you. Before it was I got to do an apprenticeship and learn from a chef if I really want to cook, or maybe my grandmother, luckily enough, was able to cook or something like that. But now, you got access into kitchens and all over the world, so it's awesome.
And of course I'm a little partial because we're the fresh table.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I believe in the way that we cook.
Right.
And you know why? Because it works. We have like living proof that it works for us and a lot of the people that we care about. As we mentioned, Avery was 40 pounds heavier, and he didn't go on a crash diet. He just like stopped eating fast food, started eating more healthy, started exercising. And I have to say, my daughter is like super duper healthy, and she was didn't it help to be around somebody who's healthy?
It definitely makes a big difference when you're in like a group. It's just like the accountability kind of piece that when you're with friends or you're doing something together, you're just more likely to get it done, especially if you're in a team that you work well with. It's just the nature of it. And so there's tons of science to back that up, but it's also something within like the Christian tradition that's been since the very beginning, is that you have this community of people you're trying to take that just next step into a healthier life, a more balanced life. And I think especially with food that gets lost, there's like this personal challenge where you and you alone have to go on some crazy diet and exercise. Form a group. Maybe you're with friends who maybe don't need to lose as much weight, or maybe it's not even about the weight, it's just becoming healthier. Having a body that is going to serve you later on in life. And so I think it makes a big difference having a buddy.
Having somebody to do it with. I mean, the Bible's so clear about the importance of going through life with people. Confess your sins to one another and you will be healed. I mean, Jesus, he forgives you, but to be healed, often it involves confessing these sins to other people and to bring them into your life, even into those dark places, those things that we like to kind of hide off to the side. Invite them into those places, because you know what? Bringing it out into the open is one of the best ways to be set free from it. So yes, talk to God about the things you need to turn away from, but there is such power in talking with somebody else about that. Okay, so back to avocados.
There we go.
So what I did was I just put the knife in, and see, I just did this. Is really all you do, and I can feel my knife is resting on the pit in there, and then I take it and I just twist it slightly, and look how easily that comes open then, okay? And then you can take your knife, and I'm always a little leery, like, what if I mix? Oopsie, I missed. All right, Avery, you always do it that way. I never do. He hits a knife into it, it pops right out. I just go like this.
There you go. Yeah, you can just kind of get it right in there.
Yeah, he can show you that. I almost hit my own wrist. Okay, so then avocado, just an amazing food to eat. And people are sometimes leery of avocados because of the fat content in them, because they are a high fat. But I mean, if anything has been changing in the way that people are looking at kind of healthy eating, it's fat is not the enemy. I've been saying that forever. Fat is not the enemy. The enemy, or the thing that we really need to avoid, is too much sugar. And I'm not saying you can't eat any, because you'll see in our chutney we added some maple syrup, pure maple syrup. Don't use the fake stuff. And also in our chia seed we're going to add some. But you really want to limit it. So, eating these healthy fats, avocado, almonds is another superfood, which we're going to be incorporating into another one of our dishes. But avocado, the interesting thing is, the fat in the avocado, when you eat something like carrots, something real healthy, then you want to absorb those nutrients, right, when you're eating it. Well, if you eat avocado, the healthy fat in here helps you absorb more of those nutrients. Super important. There's a great website called WHFoods.com, or you can just kind of Google 100 of the healthiest foods. It's a guy who's been around forever, and he lists out the health benefits of these different foods. And then he lists out, I was looking at avocado. I was like, okay, I have to remember this, but there's like 30 reasons you should eat avocado and kale and all these different things. But it is really motivating to help you to make healthy choices if you know why. Why? What's going on in my body after I eat this? And that can be a huge motivator to get you to eat it more often. So yes, food, enjoy the taste and the flavor, but it's also about how can I fuel my body so that I have strength and energy to go and love people. All right, so let me just rinse off. You think I need to rinse my hand off maybe?
Yeah, maybe. You got some avocado
okay,
on it.
Yeah, a little avocado there.
I'm a sucker for guacamole, and so that's pretty much my avocado intake. This is just another way to incorporate it. Like I said, you can find recipes on just about anything. We've added avocado into like chocolate pudding and things like that in the past.
Which is amazing,
if you're just really super against some of these superfoods, I would recommend just kind of like masking them or hiding them in something. You can't really taste avocado. Avocado doesn't have a super strong taste as it is, so you can add it into a lot of different things. And then with this, it's kind of just a little more bold flavor of those fresh ingredients. But again, you can make it your own.
Yeah.
You can mask them, let them shine.
If you don't like avocado, there's something wrong. Oh wait, my daughter doesn't like avocado.
She's allergic.
She's allergic to it though. Okay, so here I go. It's a very simple dressing, guys. You can do this on other things. This is all it is. I'm putting in here 2 tablespoons of olive oil and the juice of a half of a lemon. And one thing to know, when you're using citrus, whether it's lemons, limes, and you want to get more flavor out of it, before you cut them, what we do is we roll them, because that helps loosen them. So before you cut it, kind of put pressure and roll it back and forth, it will release some of the juices. And Avery and I are both big on citrus, so you will see that we use it quite often. So olive oil, and then the lemon. I'm going to grab 2 seeds that snuck in. Sometimes I put it over a strainer just to keep those seeds from coming in. So then we'd stir this around and let it, do you have salt and pepper over there, Avery?
I got it.
Can I have that salt and pepper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Making a mess over here, but it's going to taste good.
Okay. So we're going to put some pepper and salt to taste. And then just a great flavor with this is Parmesan cheese. Okay, so we stir it all in and let it sit again for a while before you actually eat it. And then, thank you, the Parmesan. Let me use that peeler because I'm going to show you kind of a fun way. You can, of course, just grate this Parmesan in, and it's always better with cheese, guys, to buy the block, because when you get cheese that is pre-grated, they put some stuff in there, like almost like a wood chips or like a dust, so that it doesn't stick and clump together, and that stuff isn't great for you. So I would suggest more just getting the cheese and then just going like this, and you can do different shapes and sizes.
The cheese is awesome. It's super fragrant. So one more, just quick one at the end. This is something you make ahead of time. You have to let it sit overnight, at least 8 hours. I'm just gonna whip this up together so you can see it and get some ideas in your mind. The superfood in this is the chia seeds. These are like sustained energy. It's like quinoa or something like that. It's been used, started in South America, and has been something that we've adopted here in the United States as something that's really, really popular. You can toss these in smoothies, but right now I've got a half a cup of chia seeds. Organic is best, of course. 1.5 cups of milk. Right now I've got almond milk. You could use coconut milk. You could use any kind of alternative milk that you prefer. 1.5 cups of that. I've got a full cup of blueberries, just like so. I've got about 1/2 teaspoon, just a touch, again, customize it to your preference. As far as the cinnamon, I've got about 1/2 teaspoon of that cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup or honey.
And then you just stir all that up.
That's exactly right.
And then the thing with the chia seeds, you have to do it in advance and let it sit overnight.
Oh, you grabbed it. I was like, oh my gosh, it disappeared.
There is what it looks like. Here's the salmon, the broccoli, the kale. Yum all around. All right, guys, get your superfoods going. Get them going today, okay? And all you do with that then, guys, stir it up, put it into a container, and it's ready tomorrow.
You ready to go? Well, thanks so much for joining us.
See you next time. Bye-bye.